Did you know that most people fear public speaking more than death? So technically that means right now I'm braver than a skydiver. If you want to make people listen to you from the start, to be able to speak with authority and leave a lasting impression, this is for you. I used to be a terrified, terrible public speaker, and now I speak on stage and online around the world, and I actually love doing it, which would have been my worst nightmare before. And one of the most powerful tips I ever learned was how important your very first words are. I call it the domino effect. It's like you carefully line up a row of dominoes, and if the first domino falls perfectly, that gives you the momentum to keep the other dominoes falling properly. And that's exactly what happens in a speech. If your opening is strong, the positive energy flows, people stay engaged, and your message lands effortlessly. On the other hand, if your opening falls flat, the momentum stops, and you have to work twice as hard to regain attention from your audience. So if you nail your opening, this helps everything else fall into place. My name is Danielle Drew, and today I am a professional public speaker. I deliver seminars, workshops, and keynote talks locally and internationally. I also call myself a recovering speechless speaker because I used to be so terrified of speaking in public that I couldn't actually form words. My mouth was so dry, no sounds would come out. I could never have pictured myself standing on stage in Boston, where I had the honor of presenting with Gary Vaynerchuk, or in the USA coaching business owners and delivering keynote talks. But that's what I do now. And I help other people become confident speakers too. But when I first started studying with coaches to help develop my own speaking skills, I did one thing that made it much harder than it needed to be. And I've seen this happen with people I've helped to become better speakers as well. And it's something I've noticed over the years people tend to do pretty consistently when they want to become better speakers. And that is add on to what they're already doing. And usually the people I teach, they're all really busy people. So adding anything onto their workload is really exhausting. So let's not do that. Let's instead take away some things that you might be doing first so there's some space to replace with better techniques. Sound good? Awesome. Let's go. So here are 10 things that I have found it is important to stop doing when you are starting your talk. Number one, starting with, hi, my name is. For your audience, this is like watching a movie where you have to sit through all of the boring credits at the start before any of the action starts. Your audience wants action, not introductions. And the impact of doing this means that you're instantly forgettable. Your audience is tuning out before you even get to the good part. So introduce yourself if you need to later on when you've already got their attention. But did you notice that I didn't introduce myself until I already had your attention? The second mistake, apologizing and undermining yourself, saying things like, oh, sorry, I'm not a great speaker, or I'm going to try and keep this short so I don't bore you. Now, these phrases, they make you sound unsure, and this kills your credibility. It's like you're going out for dinner to this really nice restaurant, and the chef comes out and they put the plate down in front of you, and you can see the beautiful food, and it's beautifully arranged, and you can see the steam rising off the plate, and you are excited to eat it. And then the chef says, don't think this will taste any good, but good luck, off you go. Suddenly, your meal doesn't look that great, right? The same thing happens when we undermine ourselves. The third mistake that I see happen a lot is speaking too fast. Rushing, especially at the start, makes you sound nervous and really hard to follow, and most audiences don't want to work that hard to keep up. I know it's tempting to think, let's get this over with and leap in speaking really, really fast. But I encourage you to recognize that your talk then becomes like a high-speed train and it's going to crash. You're going to run out of air and you're going to choke and you're going to end up with your audience standing back there on the platform wondering what the hell just happened. So speaking too fast is a really common technique that needs to be changed for many people. Number 4, using cliches. For example, thank you for having me. It's such an honor to be here. I'm so excited to be here today. This is like reading a book that starts with once upon a time. Your audience has heard it a million times before. So it's probably not connecting with them, and they're likely to be yawning, hopefully on the inside of their heads, instead of paying attention to you. Number 5, not grabbing attention in the first 10 seconds. Have you ever watched a new TV show, maybe on Netflix or one of the streaming services, and it takes forever to get interesting? Right? If it doesn't grab your attention fast, you're likely to change to a different show, right? It's the same thing with your talk. Let's say you start your talk with this. Today, I'd like to share some insights about teamwork. Now, this is not attention grabbing. You know, Microsoft did a study in the year 2000 which showed that the average attention span of an adult was around 12 seconds. But by 2008, that's 8 years later, it actually had dropped to 9 seconds. Now, to put this into perspective, the attention span of a goldfish is 10 seconds. So we had actually less attention span by 1 second than a goldfish. The point here is people are going to mentally tune out if you don't grab their attention within 10 seconds. Okay, number 6, overloading with too much information up front. Let's say your talk starts off like this. Leadership is a complex topic with many layers, including communication, delegation, conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, and adaptability. Oh, my goodness me. This is like being on a first date, and before you even order drinks, the other person's dumped their entire life story on you. Their childhood, their job struggles, their family dreams, their future dreams, past relationships, and even what they plan to name their future children. The result, of course, is you're overwhelmed and you're mentally checking out and wondering, how can I escape before the main course arrives? You have to give your audience a reason to stay tuned, and overload at the start is not going to do that. Number 7, nervous body language. The best way to illustrate this is to ask the question, how do you feel when you are watching a visibly nervous speaker? As an audience member, most of us feel nervous too. We feel bad for the person who's speaking. In fact, we worry so much about how that person feels and whether they're going to be successful in this talk that we don't really pay much attention to what they're saying. If your speaker's standing stiffly and avoiding eye contact or fidgeting nervously, then it makes your audience on edge too, and your message gets lost. Number 8, sounding like you are reading. For example, good morning. Today I will be discussing the impact of leadership strategies on corporate performance. The first point is, now this is like that Friday afternoon science teacher in high school who droned on and on and on. As an audience, we get bored fast and we want it to end as quickly as humanly possible. Number 9, not preparing a strong opening at all. Imagine you're going on a road trip, right, with a bunch of friends, and you're the driver, and you get into your car and you start to drive. You've got the music going, but you haven't put a destination into your navigator. You take random turns, you hesitate at intersections, and soon you're lost. Guess what the result is as far as your passengers are concerned? They're like, you don't know where you're going. They lose trust in you, and tension starts to build in the car. Now, I've heard talks where the speaker says something like, okay, let's get started then. I guess, yeah, I guess I'll begin by talking about leadership. The same thing that happened to the people in the car is happening to your audience here. If your opening seems unprepared like this, the audience is going to lose trust in you and feel frustrated before you really even get going. And number 10, the thank you overload. This is one of my favorite ones. The it goes a little bit like this. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'd like to thank the event organisers for putting this together, the amazing team behind the scenes, and of course you all for being here. And a big thank you as well to my mentors and my family and everyone who has supported me on this journey. Thank you to my chiropractor, my vet, my cats, my mother-in-law, my neighbour down the street. I truly appreciate everyone. Are you bored yet? This kind of Oscar-worthy overthanking makes people lose interest before you even start, because it's putting the focus on you rather than immediately delivering value to your audience. So these are 10 ways to mess up your talk right from the start, and I have done all 10 of these more than once. Sadly, some of them more than many times. So take a screenshot of that if you've not already done so. It's also available in the course arena where you access this video. And I encourage you now to take a look at the last talk you did and think about how you did your opening. Were you making any of those 10 mistakes? When I did this exercise, as I said, I found that I'd done several of those, and sometimes I actually combined some of the mistakes together. So I made a complete hash of my talk. So I encourage you now to look at your next talk and identify how you've prepared those opening words and see if you need to tweak it a little bit. And remember that you have the opportunity to have those tools available to you in the rest of this mini course. So first up, identify if you have done at any point in the past or you're preparing to make any of those 10 mistakes, and then look at how to replace those openings with better ones. So don't forget to check out the other 2 training videos, which will actually show you how to replace those mistakes with improvements. My name is Danielle Drew, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.